Hello?
Oh.
Filming here. I'm being famous here.
Well, I need Sisters of Mercy to wake me up.
Sisters of Mercy? Okay, go. Bye-bye.
Don't use this for your stupid intro.
Goodbye. I'm not. Hey Booktube, it's Kim at Middle of the Bookmarch, and this is my bookish week for what I think is October 6th. For Sunday, October 6th. We're going to go with it. I think it's the 6th. Yeah. And I always try to think of what initials and dates were I signing at work on Friday, and I think it was the 4th. I'm hoping that's right. It's not a matter of life and death, but I'm still hoping it's right. So, I finished 2 books this past bookish week, and it was a rough week. My daughter was sick all week. She basically was out of school for the week. She can take care of herself mostly, but you know how it is when either men or teenagers are sick with a cold. All right, yeah, I said it. I had to. And if you know, you know. So it was a rough week. I was pretty tired helping to make her feel better and, get the food and clean around and do the laundry, that type of stuff. But I did manage to finish 2 books. So let me tell you about those. The first one, this book, I'm going to preface this with the story. This book is a book that Judy Brown sent me because she and I we've done a couple of book exchanges. And I sent her a book, and we agreed that I would send her a certain book and she would send me a certain book. She would tell me the titles that she had and I would pick. And she sent me a second book that I wasn't expecting. And it looked really good. And I didn't read it right away, but I did read it this past week and really loved it. This is called The Foundling by Stacey Halls. And this is set in 1754 London. There was a system at that time of a foundling hospital, and young women who could not take care of their babies or either were children born out of wedlock or children born in abject poverty. There was a system where the foundling hospital would offer a lottery. So these young women would bring in their babies to this lottery in hopes that the hospital would take the babies. Unfortunately, if some of these young women, if the hospitals did not take their children, probably some sort of violence or death might befall them. Not only just the babies, but their unwed mothers may be tempted to take their own lives to get out of this horrid situation. So this young woman named Bess, she takes her brand new 1-day-old baby daughter to London's Foundling Hospital, and her father brings her there, and they hope that she will pick out the right colored ball out of this basket. And the balls symbolize different colors, whether you're eliminated immediately, whether you're accepted immediately, or whether you're on hold. And the ball that she picks tells her that she's on hold. So it's not a definite no to take her baby and not a definite yes. But she is torn because she desperately loves her baby, and baby was born healthy, which is important to this foundling hospital. She wants to take her daughter home, but she knows that she can't. She's living in poverty, her whole family. And so she goes they call her into the next room, and they ask her several questions, and they tell her that the woman that would have been eligible before her is no longer eligible. She can let her baby go to the hospital. And they basically rush her through this process when she doesn't even have time to think about it. They take her baby and they show her the door. She is intent on one day going back for her baby because they can do that. If women get a hold of enough money, they can go back for their children. Well, that's her plan. So she does that. She works and she works and she works and she saves money and she saves money and she saves money. And she eventually does go back to get her child back. And she is told that her child has already been picked up by her, which is not true. And it becomes a mystery. It becomes, how did this happen and what happened and how did is she an unreliable narrator? Is there, what is the mystery? What happened to her child, who coincidentally was named Clara, which is my daughter's name? So this was a really good book. I really enjoyed reading this. It was dual timelines and really interesting characters. I love this setting. I love this time frame. I love stories of strong young women who somehow make their way through life and thrive by the end of it. So I really, really enjoyed this book. It reminded me very much of a Dickens novel, to be honest with you, and that's not a bad thing. And it had more contemporary language. It was very good and very well written, and I'm really interested to read more of Stacey Hall's novels. So let's put that back there. Now, who would have thought? Back up. I believe I said this in my last Bookish week. I've read a couple of cozy fantasy novels, and I've purchased a couple of novels that I believe are cozy fantasy. So I was on a kick, and I've really enjoyed it. And I found this book on audio and had wanted to read it for years and years and years. This is not a child's book, but kind of a middle grade fantasy. And this was originally copyrighted, I believe, in 1986, I think. But who would have thought that a middle grade fantasy novel made up purely of animals would make me cry? Well, this one did. And I shouldn't be surprised because animal stuff always makes me cry. But this is Redwall by Brian Jakes. And I listened to this on audio, and most of the way through the audio, I said, I must have this book on my shelf. This made me cry. And it is a book made up of animals, and it's a fantasy story. This is Matthias the warrior mouse, and he is protecting Redwall Abbey. I loved this so much. And I did this the last time too, but I didn't get the narrator's name before I started filming. So I'm going to put the narrator's name right down here. And I gushed about him in my last video. This was so fantastically narrated. I felt like I was listening to Lord of the Rings, had that same experience. His narration was spectacular. So if you have any desire to listen to Redwall, do it. And his name will be right down at the bottom of this screen, so you can look up the audio with his narration. But this is the story of this community of warrior animals protecting Redwall Abbey from the rats. Matthias, the warrior mouse, Cornflower, who is kind of his female counterpart, but she's more of a caretaker. She's more of the one who takes care of everybody and nurses and is such a strong young woman mouse. It's so funny to say that. And then we've got Winifred the otter, and we've got Constance the badger. Oh my gosh, Constance the badger. Most likely my favorite character in the whole book. Now, as a side story, my daughter and I we read all of Harry Potter several times. And we used to go on, there's little tests online where you can go to figure out which Harry Potter house that you would end up in. And of course, I'm always hoping Gryffindor, whatever. I never got Gryffindor, and I'm not a Slytherin. And I'm thinking, okay, well, Ravenclaw would be fun. Nope, I get Hufflepuff. I don't know why, but Hufflepuff is just not that tough of a name. I didn't want Hufflepuff. But okay, whatever. And then there's another test you can take to find out what your Patronus is going to be. And if you've read Harry Potter, you know the references. My Patronus was a honey badger. And I'm like, why couldn't I get like a lion or like, I don't know, an elk, or I don't know, even an owl would be fine, but I get a honey badger. Eventually I realized how brutal and strong and fierce badgers are. And when I'm reading this and Constance is a badger, I was so happy. It's so stupid. I was so happy. She was my favorite character. So these fantastic animals are fighting Clooney the Scourge, who is the rat warrior king. He's not a king, but he wants to be a king. And it is so fun, but there's a lot of violence in here. Everything is fairly appropriate for a young person. I mean, for kids to read, for middle schoolers to read. a lot happens. It's action-packed, and I loved every second of it. And this was so good. It was so good. There were points towards the end. I just cried, and I feel funny admitting to that, but it doesn't happen to me very often reading a book. It used to, but not for a very long time. So just a few books that make me cry. 5-star reading experience. Absolutely love Redwall. I will continue with the series. I'm not sure when or if I will read the whole thing. It's a pretty long series, but it was definitely worth my time and more. Those are the 2 books I finished this past week. What am I currently reading? I am currently reading Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray for Victober, and I'm reading this with Heidi and Britta. Little did I know how funny this book was going to be. And the satire is masterclass. This is just a really hilarious Victorian novel. Oh gosh, Amelia and Becky Sharp. You go girl, that's all I have to say. I am reading Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood with the I'm With the Band book group. There's a book group hosted by MJ and initiated by MJ on Voxer and Fable. So if you're interested, go onto Fable and check out that platform. It's really cool. And we are reading Oryx and Crake, which is yet another banned novel, but it's Margaret Atwood, so it's, her and Sarah J. Maas, most of all of their novels are banned, and Toni Morrison, so yeah. What do all those authors have in common? They're all women. The last book I'm reading is a reread, East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I am buddy reading this with my friend and subscriber, George. And George, if you're watching today, check in whenever. It's Sunday, and Sunday is supposed to be our check-in day. But I am also a little behind, but we'll get caught up quickly. So let's keep this chill and relaxed, and we'll check in when we have the moment of time. But this is a reread for me, one of my favorite American classics. And it's kind of reading, I've got cat hair floating. It's kind of reading like I've never read it before, because it was many years ago that I did read it. But I simply remember parts of the story and how amazing it is. So really looking forward to getting further into that buddy read. What's going on with me for the rest of the week? I don't really know. I did go to the Avenue Victor Hugo $1 book sale. I did go to that yesterday. They are closing their doors in their physical store, and I don't know if they had an online presence, but I'm not sure they're going to continue to do that. This store is a converted barn, and it's not that giant of a barn. And so when you walked into the store, everything was very tightly packed, very all wooden beams, old barn, but old wood bookshelves and very, very massive antique, old books lining the walls. But then there were also plenty of newer books and used books. It was all used books, but a lot of them were contemporary books and that type of thing. You could not move in that place yesterday. It was body to body, and the entire row of bodies had to coordinate when we wanted to move forward to get to the next shelf. There was no room in the entire place. It was a little claustrophobic, but I had patience because I had time to sit and wait my turn to move. I did pick up 7 or 8 books that I will probably show you this week. Yeah. And very sad, but I was glad that I could go and support just a little bit, even just the show of the number of people. But that is it for me for today. I don't think I have anything else. No, I don't have anything else. Let me know in the comments below what you think of any of the books I showed you or what you're doing this bookish week, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.